Most people lose their 20s before they even realize it. I was no exception. I almost did the same, except for the tiny fact that I answered a wake-up call and started a 3-year-long journey to control my life again and revive my 20s. I turned from a depressed, lost restaurant worker into a financially independent filmmaker with a big YouTube channel. And I also founded my own software company, and my life has drastically changed. In this video, I will briefly share my personal story, plus my best strategy that I personally use in this period of my 20s to get the best results and to revive your youth. I will have to start from the beginning to build up some context, but if you like to skip to the advice part of the video, feel free to do so by choosing the right timestamp that I made for you. So my name is TG and I will navigate you through your self-improvement journey, so buckle up by hitting the subscribe button and let's get started. Looking back at this stage of my life, I can clearly see how different my life was in comparison to my peers. I had 2 different jobs as I became 20 years old. My main focus in this period was to save money to travel to Europe to play football professionally. At this stage, I was a very good football player. I was still young. I still had a chance to get a shot in one of the major leagues in Europe. So that was my goal. So as you can see, I was this kind of person at first. I was very determined, I was goal-oriented, I was motivated and driven by my dream. But hold on, it's not all sunshine and rainbow story. An ironic event will pop up through the timeline, which I will get into in a minute. So I worked as much as I could. Eventually, my 2 shift jobs have allowed me to save enough money to book a ticket to Frankfurt. It took me months looking for a club to sign me, and eventually I got my first contract. At this point, I was happy. I was totally happy and satisfied. All my long working years have paid off. I felt nothing could stop me from making it to the top. I enjoyed playing at this period. I scored 24 goals, the last 3 of them were in one match, which was unfortunately my last one. I got injured in this match. I was sent to the hospital. It was a very bad injury in my left foot, but I didn't realize it just yet. I didn't worry that much about it, but months passed. Apparently I was recovering, but it was at this point where I came to a new realization. My injury is somehow creating limits to my physical abilities. My agility is much less than before. So, for example, I can't do a full speed runs without a physical pain. Doctors didn't have much to say about it. And that was when I realized my days as a football player were done. This was the turning point for me, which escalated and destroyed the next years of my life, unfortunately. So when you go through your day without no purpose and you leave yourself drafting without something specific to do, when time goes by, your life turns into a maze, and where what seemed easy becomes so complicated. And why wouldn't it, since you left it to the odds for years? During my mid-20s, I began questioning everything. I could describe it this way. I lived my past few years on autopilot, doing nothing but a day job to secure the necessities of my living. That's all I did. Apart from that, I was just chilling, watching movies, playing games. Yes, I was there, kind of, but not really, in terms of conscious awareness. It was clear that my life outcomes were lit by the odds, and it became obvious to me where this is going. I am literally wasting my prime, instead of using it to build foundations to carry me tens of years to come. This didn't make sense to me at all. I discovered that the core problem is not the circumstances that I blamed at first, but rather than that, the problem was in my mindset. The way I look at things shapes the behaviors towards it. So for example, embracing my negative thoughts justified sitting after work to fill my time with all sorts of instant gratification. So my mindset is simply what shapes my actions as a human being. And since my actions have only one of 2 results, negative or positive, my weak mindset led me to almost waste my prime. I'm gonna speak for myself. Realizing how foolish you are and then working on building a strategy to put things back on the right track is probably the hardest mission that you could accomplish. To accept that you are foolish is hard. But to be honest, I had no choice. I did not accept seeing my future being shaped due to the odds, and slowly it turned into fear, to be honest. It literally turned into the one and the only thing that I think about in this period. After I spent some time to think the whole situation through, I found out that reviving the rest of my 20s is indeed possible. But I had to rapidly change my behavior, and I got to work rapidly on changing. But to be honest, I failed. I failed in my first approach, but as you can see, I survived to tell. And luckily, I know why I failed. Here is how I failed in my first approach. I have decided that I should flip my whole life in a matter of days, to quit my job and to cut my relations to anyone I evaluated their existence in my life as non-productive. I thought these are the big right decisions that I have to take in order to revive what's left in my 20s. But I was wrong. I did not have to make big changes such as changing my job to improve my life. Instead of that, I had to focus on the small micro decisions that I make daily. So what I have learned from this failed experience is that I still have to change and to make decisions, but not those big ones. Rather than that, the small micro ones that my day needed to be called as a productive day. And if my day was productive, then every day of the week is going to be productive. And if every week was productive, then every month is gonna be productive, and so on. So instead of making these big decisions, I focused on what my sphere of influence is upon, the things that I do daily. Small changes like adjusting my sleeping time, the amount of sleeping hours that I get every night, paying more attention to what I eat and drink, monitor the way I spend my money and on what I spend my money. Where do I spend my time and with whom? Creating limits to my screen time. These are the things that I have influence upon, full influence upon, and they are still a very tiny things to do, things that you can handle doing today. Since I implemented these tiny adjustments to my daily routine, the effect was literally like magic in a matter of months. And you could relate to that just by thinking about it in your own life. Small things that you do daily. It will rapidly change your whole being. And this made me much more passionate about my life. And eventually it led me to much more opportunities, to a new chapter of my professional life, far from the football player that I dreamed to become, but not less satisfying. And that's life. Not everything we seek, we end up getting, we end up reaching. But life is full of great choices, great experiences. Be more open, be flexible, embrace failure, and never give up. What matters is to make sure that you reach your limits every single time, and then some. Your prime is not your age, guys. It's the fire inside of you. And please take it personally, because I believe that from what I have learned from my own life. Your prime is not the age, it's the fire inside of you. So if it existed, ignite it. If you feel it, I urge you to go for it. Make small changes on things that you can do on daily basis. This is how you really, with time, build up a much more complex system that literally impacts your life in the way that meets your expectations. And that was the first part of this series. The part 2 is going to be based on the answers of this question. So what is your biggest struggle in terms of falling behind in life? The next video is going to be based on your answer. And if you would like to check out my framework for a practical approach to self-improvement, check out the link in the description below. So this is TG signing out. Long live heroes. Brace yourself. Game on.